Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everything OnPay can do for you, features and integrations. Who wouldn't like more time back in their day? Well, we know that OnPay saves our business owners on average 15 hours or more per month on payroll. Today, we're going to highlight some features to get even more out of OnPay. But first, I'd like to introduce you to the people behind the voices, and I say voices plural. Let me put us on camera just very briefly, just so you can meet us. My name is Kara. I work on the partner development team at OnPay, and I help our accounting and bookkeeping clients streamline their operations with us. So hello.
Hi, I'm Jessica Miles. I work on the product team here at OnPay. I've got about a decade of experience in payroll, and my job is to work with our developers to streamline your experience when you're using our platform.
Absolutely. And inadvertently, I have to say, Jessica and I are matching today. That just shows you we are on the right wavelength together to discuss a deep dive in OnPay and our integrations. So without further ado, let's introduce OnPay to you for those of you that may be unfamiliar. All right. So OnPay, who we are a cloud-based payroll service provider that offers our clients a whole lot at one low, no hidden fee price. We take care of all payroll tax payments and filings and a whole bunch more so you can run payroll your way. Feel free, check us out after this webinar, onpay.com. You can get 30 days free and see why we're PCMag's editor's choice for 2020. We're really excited about that.
Yeah, and today we're going to be covering a couple of things. So first, we'll talk about managing employees efficiently, running payroll like a super user, and ways that you can view your data the way that you want with our built-in report designers, as well as a whole lot about our integrations. And lastly, we'll talk about some housekeeping things with company administration and ensuring that you have a streamlined experience.
And we absolutely love questions. Let's work together and make this session as interactive as possible. There's a questions section of your GoToWebinar panel. You can ask questions as we go along. So as soon as you think of them, feel free, pop it in the question section there. We're saving all questions for the end. We actually had one user already submit a question to us ahead of time, which is great. And keep in mind too, we will be sending out a copy of this webinar in an email to follow. So you'll want to take a look at your inbox for that. And our handout section too, we've already got a PDF available for you, ready to go. All right, so let's start with employee management. Traditionally, when hiring on a new employee, the process has gone something like this. You sit the employee down at a desk, you have them fill out their W-4, I-9, direct deposit authorization form, probably what seems like a million other sheets of paper, and then you take this data, and if you're super old school, it goes in a filing cabinet for you to pull later when you're actually manually calculating the payroll. Or if you're using a payroll system, you then take that information, type it all out into the software. And then you're also kind of remembering in the back of your mind, all right, I need to submit a new hire report to the state's new hire agency, gotta remain in compliance. And then this is also all juggled together with actually training your employee, trying to focus your attention on getting them settled in. Well, we're here to help. We can give you back time in your day by eliminating double entry and empowering your employees at the same time. So right from the outset, you can invite your employee to self-onboard. Take a look at the screen. I'm going to show you what the employee self-onboarding process looks like. So this puts the responsibility on the employee to enter in their demographic information in full. They're also going to be filling out federal and state withholding details. They'll be keying in their routing and account numbers for direct deposit, and even electronically signing the I-9, W-4, essential documentation like that to boot. And this then instantaneously creates their profile in OnPay with those saved forms all centralized in one nice place, so that come payday, you've got everything you need to get them paid and you're still in compliance. Plus, we also take care of the new hire reporting for you.
Now, have your employees ever asked you, when did I get paid last? How many hours of PTO do I have left? I need my pay stubs because I'm trying to apply for a mortgage. I've got a new bank account. How do I change that information? Well, we've got you covered. So by inviting your employees to self-onboard, or even inviting them after the profile's been created in OnPay, it gives you the ability to empower your employees to have the information at their own fingertips. So they can log in at any point, look this up, and it helps prevent questions for you and for them. Let's take a look at the video here and see some of these features. So we're going to start with the employee dashboard. This is where employees can see information at a glance, like any to-dos or documents they might need to sign. They can easily view recently issued paychecks, Employees can also view their year-to-date earnings, download their W-2 at the end of the year. They can also view their personal information and even request a change in their tax elections. Employees can also request time off, whether that's vacation, sick, or PTO, and check their balances in one centralized place. The system will then alert the employer by email, and it'll flow right into OnPay for the employer to approve or deny that request of time off. They can also update their direct deposit information with ease. So they can split their bank account over multiple accounts if they need. They can also view members of their team through the org chart or through the people section that you're seeing here. It's kind of an employee directory. So there's much more the system can do, but that's a quick view of what the employees can do on their side.
Absolutely. And as much as we love slideshows, let's hop into OnPay, take a look at payroll, view our seamless integrations, and explore our report designer as well. I'm going to pause the screen share and open up a new tab in my web browser. So you're going to see my screen is a little bit frozen. That's what's nice about OnPay. We're a cloud-based payroll service provider. So I just open up a new tab and I just need to have an internet connection and I'm there. So refreshing now, you'll see my screen in just a moment. I was going to say drum roll, please, but here we go. I didn't want to time it right. All right, 3, 2, 1. You should see that my screen has changed. If you're already an existing OnPay user, you know that this is the first page you see when you log into the system. But let's highlight some tools or features that you may not have noticed before and can help you out. So everyone gets unlimited support by phone, chat, and email. If you come to the top of the window here, we have a question mark icon. And if I click on this, it expands and I can access our help center, type in a few keywords, find an article that's going to help me out, do what I need to do in the system. But also keep in mind, you can open a chat, you have our phone number to call our support team, and email. So I'm a multitasker myself. If I needed assistance, I would probably open up a chat, do my work on my own time, and then have that chat open to receive assistance that way too. If you need to pull up employees very quickly, search workers at the top of the screen. You can just start typing in an employee's name, click their profile right here, and you're going to be brought right to their employee page. And I tell you, we have shortcuts galore. If I come down here under my team, same thing. I click on an employee's picture, I'm going to be brought right to their profile as well. So this dashboard window has a lot of information at a glance for me. We're going to explore some of this shortly, but let's jump into running a payroll. So I can go to payroll right here, but truthfully, I usually scroll down, go to next scheduled pay run, and just click that blue start run button. And this brings me right to where I need to go. We have a 4-step payroll process. It's really simple, straightforward. Very first step, I'm just choosing the workers that I'd like to pay. So I check and deselect as needed. But I did want to point out a way that you can enhance your reports is notice these tags beneath the workers' names. They're indicating items like position at the company. We've got fields for location. We've got fields for departments. I see these being underutilized by a lot of our clients. This is such an easy way that you can enhance our reports because you're able to filter our reports by all of those fields. And if you're using a system like QuickBooks or Xero, you can even have the department and location carry over into that accounting platform as well. Now, if you're in a rush, maybe you have hours for one department but not another, you can left click once in the column header and it's going to reprioritize those employees for you so that they're grouped together. So it's going to make for quicker data entry or choosing who you need to pay. Now, if you need to issue a bonus check on the fly, I can come up to the top of my window, click on any of these dates in blue, and I'm going to see this pop up here. I am able to adjust my pay period start date, pay period end date, and check date as needed. And what I love is that this is not going to impact what I have regularly scheduled for payroll. So you're able to just come in, make those modifications, and especially if you're issuing a bonus check, which we tend to see a little bit more towards the end of the year. So we're kind of coming up on that time. So if I'm giving my employees a bonus check, maybe I want to make a big show of it. I think that's nice, give them a nice check. I may want to check this box here. In one go, I am able to make sure all my employees in that run are going to be paid by check just for that pay run. So it's not removing anything from direct deposit. I don't have to go into each profile individually. And then I also may want to check this box, hold all employee deductions. Maybe this bonus check, I'm not taking out that medical premium. So that's an example of when I would want to check this. So I'm not, again, going into each employee's profile and temporarily holding those deductions either. So if you're terminating an employee, same thing. You can easily come up here, adjust those dates, maybe process. I know California is one such state where you have to have a check in hand, give that to them to pay out. So just an example there. Now let's take a look at entering the wages and hours. And I'm going to start with this button that's often overlooked at the top of my window here. We have what I like to call the magic wand icon. So this is a way that you can start your payroll with a clean slate. You can select OK, and it's actually going to refresh my hours to 0, if you'll notice down here. Now, I actually don't usually like having my hours reset. I'm going to show you why during this presentation, but completely up to you. There is a way that you can have it so that the hours are automatically reset before you even go to run that next payroll. So under company and my company, if I scroll down, check out this section in your own OnPay account if you have one already. We do have a company preferences area. Whole bunch of customization options, but the one I want to direct you to is 0 hours after each pay run. I keep mine, and again, I'll show you why in just a few minutes. I like to keep mine on do not 0 hours after pay run. I like my hours to remain intact. This is a nice option if you're paying pretty much the same, hours each pay period. But you can certainly choose one of these two so you start with the clean slate each and every time. All right, let's pick up where we left off. I'm just going to click here, go to enter hours. Now, one of the things I noticed on the screen is my salaried worker, Anthony. He is due a raise. I just gave him a raise. He did such a great job, but I forgot to program that into the system or into OnPay before I went to this window. Not a worry. I can just left click on his name in blue, and this is going to bring me right to his employee profile, where I'll go to job, compensation, and under salary amount, I'm going to give him a nice little pay bump here. And then when I click X, notice I am brought back right where I left off. I'm brought back to this enter hours window. So just a little shortcut there. You can make modifications as needed. Maybe you need to add a child support order or change a deduction. You can do that here. And then what I'm going to do is I got my salaried employee covered. My contractor, like ReadyTech, I can knock out at the same time I'm knocking out the wages for my W-2 employee. So we'll enter in his pay here. And I'm just going to hit tab on my keyboard. No sense in using my mouse and clicking through. I'm going to save time and just key in those hours like so. I did want to call out though, if anyone on this call is using one of our time and attendance partners, we work with Deputy, T-Sheets, and When I Work. No extra typing required there. I would have an import hours button like you see right on my page, and I can have those hours populate automatically, so you may not have to type anything at all. Now, another shortcut that I'd like to show you is if you can see it right here, lower right of each of the employee sections, I have an option that I can open up the page a little bit more. I can adjust a withholding on the fly. Maybe they get a flat amount taken out of each pay period. I can configure that here. I can override a deduction, either change the amount or hold it altogether, and also add in other rates of pay. So let me type in, add just a bonus, but something to keep in mind is in OnPay, you do have the ability to customize the names of these pay items, whether they're an hourly rate of pay, non-hourly. So we're giving all those customization options at your fingertips. I want to call out something else too. I was able to modify that pay run for that employee without leaving the screen. So you're able to make those edits, pick up right where you left off. All right, next step is the fun one because it's OnPay's turn. We're going to calculate all the taxes for you, 100 plus employees, same turnaround time. And then in this approve window, just because Jessica and I were really emphasizing how important that employee portal is, how much it saves you time, you do have an option on this page. A little bit further down, a box is checked automatically for you to notify my employees. So what's great is if you have invited your employees to their own portal, they're able to view their pay stubs, all of that info in one place, one secure place, and you can have it so an automated email is sent out letting them know, hey, time to check your portal, looks like you were paid again, and they can actually go in, view that pay stub breakdown right there. Okay, so let's get those workers paid. I'm going to hit approve payroll to actually process that pay run. And if anyone on this call is using QuickBooks Desktop, QuickBooks Online, or Xero to manage your books, you can have it so that once you hit approve, those journal entries or those expenses are going to be sent over to that system. Now, I'm using QuickBooks Online just as an example. Notice I had a banner and it was loading as we were going along. You may have caught it at the bottom of my page. It will also give you, this banner will give you an acknowledgement once those entries were successfully sent over. So that way you don't have to worry and wonder, oh gosh, did I mess something up? Did something go through? We'll tell you, and we have another part of the system that will tell you as well. All right, so let's say I ran through that pay run and I realized, oh, I didn't mean to give Samantha a bonus, which, as I say out loud, feels a little mean-spirited, but hey, maybe I need to make an adjustment to that pay run. I'm going to come back to this dashboard, go to recent runs, and I'm going to show you why I like keeping the hours in and not resetting them to 0. So recent runs, if I select expand, this tells me a lot of information at a glance. I'm able to see when OnPay is drafting for taxes, how much OnPay is drafting for taxes, same thing with the direct deposit sweep. So I have all this information handy right here. If I need to make an adjustment to that pay run, as long as OnPay has not drafted for the taxes or direct deposit quite yet, I will have an option to delete that pay run and then I can reprocess it. If we have drafted for those, no confusion, you won't see that button there at all if it's not a possibility. So I'm going to select delete, confirm, yes, I'd like to remove that. And I'm just removing a bonus for Samantha. So I'm going to go back to start run. The same employees that I selected to pay before are listed. When I go to enter hours though, notice everything I did previously is still intact for me. So even if you haven't approved a pay run, you can stop, pick up where you left off. OnPay is going to remember what you keyed in before. And I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to remove that bonus. Oh man, I really feel mean now, but I'm going to remove her bonus. But notice even my direct deposit override, that is still there for me until I reset it or process the pay run and come back in again and make some modifications. So that's what I think is so useful. If you find yourself having to remove pay runs, there's a really quick shortcut, or reach out to our client experience team. They can help you too. Okay, so payroll, we have got payroll covered. Let's take a look at how you can get the big picture, how to really optimize the reports that we have in OnPay. If I come to the far left-hand side here and go to reports, let me pin this menu so you're able to see our full menu of reports, but I'm going to start with one of our report designers. So if I go into a report like earnings summary, I've got this nice report laid out here, even payroll listing, a few others have this as well. I can go to selected configuration on the far right hand side. This is going to open up a menu where I can drag and drop column headers. I can change it out. I can really build out the report from scratch as I would like it to look. And then you can name those different versions of those reports any way you want. I know that you will be more creative than I just chose config 1, but you name those different versions so you can access them very easily and you have your own report built out. We do have some pre-formatted reports as well. I want to highlight one, Payroll Summary. All these reports, I'm able to choose a customized date range. I'm also able to select additional filters and really funnel down to maybe a particular location, department, position. If you recall from the pay run that we processed together, those were all customizable fields I had assigned to employees. So I'm able to filter to my heart's content, even have a favorite version of that report too, and then export in a multitude of ways, including Excel. Now, the reason I pulled up Payroll Summary in particular is, one, I love this report. It gives us a really good high-level overview of the wage expenses, employee-specific taxes, employer-specific taxes, benefits. I love this actually for benefits. We do have reports that it's comparable information but broken out by employee, but this is just a great at-a-glance report, and particularly so for this bottom row right here. So if you recall that recent run section, I could see any upcoming tax and direct deposit drafts. This is also a good way if you're not using QuickBooks and if you're not using Xero, you can reconcile the bank drafts that we're initiating with what is in OnPay. So tax liability, more than likely excluding just a few taxes. I'm thinking New York State disability and a few others we calculate, but we don't draft because those are private and premiums. But overall, in general, tax liability should match up with the tax draft that we're initiating from your bank account. And then direct deposit should always match as well. So really quick way of, hey, what is this draft? Let me go in here and take a quick look. We also have an ACH listing report as well too under company, and then bank transactions too. So a few different shortcuts there, but let me go back to reports because I want those of you with retirement plans, I want to highlight a particular report for you. So OnPay, we're going to go over our integrations. We're going to go over our partners in just a moment or so. But if you are using a 401k record keeper that OnPay does not partner with, that's okay. Retirement Export is a great report because 401k record keepers, they'll typically outline what they'd like to see in a report for you. So in here, I can go to include, exclude, I can drag and drop column headers, like our report designer, really make this report my own, save different versions, and then export multitude of ways as well. So basically, you've got some options here to get your reports the way you want it to look. We know no two businesses are alike. Okay, so let me pause my screen share once more. We're going to do a deeper dive into integrations, talk about that a little bit more. So just bear with me one moment here. I'm pulling that up for you. And Jessica, take it away.
Yeah, so it makes sense to centralize your operations. In a perfect world, you want your timekeeping to speak to your payroll and in turn have all of those expenses flow right into your accounting platform. Kara, can you drop a link in the chat with our list of all of our integrated partners?
Absolutely. So you should see that in the chat section of GoToWebinar.
Perfect. We also saw how OnPay can send over the payroll expenses as soon as you hit approve, so that's saving you time. We can do this with QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, and Xero. We also are able to get your general ledger looking the way you want. So we have custom item mapping. You set it up once and then it is set it and forget it is what I like to say. So if you take a look at the screenshot at the bottom left side of this window, we pull in your chart of accounts, and then for the different payroll items, you just assign them one time. It makes for really simple reconciliation with your bank drafts. And if you want, you can send the information over at an employee detail level. So you can see a journal entry for each employee. And so if you have a lot of paper checks, that makes it really easy to reconcile your bank statement. I highly recommend setting this feature up. If you're consulting with an accountant or a bookkeeper, you can grant them a level access, which I'll discuss shortly, so that they can do this for you, or just let our client experience team help.
Absolutely. And one expense you may want to be aware of is worker compensation. Workers' compensation laws, they do vary from state to state, but nearly every employer in the US is required to have some form of coverage for their employees. So really high level, there are two options employers generally have for this coverage, traditional or pay as you go. For a more traditional policy, employers pay a premium upfront for the year ahead based on projected payroll activity. Then, come year's end, amidst everything else you're doing, you would undergo an audit to see if there needs to be a cost adjustment for that premium. So could be you overpaid, could be you underpaid. You are able to track traditional workers' comp through OnPay. So I just want to make that clear. We have ways that we can get this set up for you, even by our onboarding team. Enter in the policy premium, the rate, and we have 2 dedicated workers' comp reports to help you out. But keep in mind that those reports need to be sent to that workers' comp provider outside of OnPay, and those premium payments must be made outside of OnPay. What's nice is we do have an alternative for you. It's called pay-as-you-go coverage. So the premium payments themselves, they're actually spread out and allocated per each pay run. So what that means is you are paying for the exact premium without an estimation, so there are no surprises at year's end. And good thing to note too, we also integrate directly with a provider called AP Inigo. So what OnPay does is you process the payroll in our system, we send the payroll data to AP Inigo. AP Inigo calculates the cost for you per pay run for that workers' comp premium. And they actually send you a nice and tidy invoice for each premium payment so that you know how much is owed. And I'm going to, just because it's not on this page, I'm going to send everyone a link in the chat, just a little bit more about AP Inigo right there. So take a look at that GoToWebinar chat panel. And I would also like you to think about benefits that you can offer as an employer that you can offer to your employees. One of the most requested benefits that employees are asking for is a robust retirement plan. If you're thinking about recruiting new staffers, if you want to retain those you have, offering a 401k plan can help. You can get 100% automated 401k plan administration with our partners. And if your business has fewer than 100 employees, your company may also qualify for a tax credit for up to $500 per year for the first 3 years just for offering a 401k plan. So who do we partner with? We partner with some of the best in the business. That's America's Best 401k, Guideline, and Investwell. OnPay, we do have a YouTube channel. So if you'd like to check us out, OnPay's YouTube channel, we actually did a few webinars with 2 of our providers recently. You can get more information about them, get more information just about 401k in general too. I did want to call out as well, if you're not using a partner, remember, I showed you all that retirement export report. It's really handy. We can also facilitate ACH transfers to your 401k record keeper completely free. We just need a routing and account number for that plan. We can move the funds at least, and then you would just export that 401k retirement report.
So as a reminder, we're going to pause soon to go over questions, but first let's talk about some company administrative things like multiple tiers of access and automating your PTO policy. One of the biggest missed opportunities I see is people not utilizing the different levels of access that are available inside of OnPay. We've created these different access levels to control who is accessing what in the system. And you can share the workload amongst different people in your organization. So let's start at the top. Owners have full administrative rights. They're basically the owner of the company. They can terminate the OnPay account if they wanted to. They are the main owner of the company. Next, an owner can add what we call approvers. This is great if you'd like to designate one person to have access rights to approve payroll, make edits, without them adding additional users. Controllers would be somebody who manages employees or needs access to view all the reports. They cannot approve payroll or adjust direct deposit information for employees, but they can view employee pay rates and things like that. So HR managers is kind of our next level of user. This is great for individuals who are onboarding new employees or entering hours only for certain employees. Maybe they work at a different location than the main company location. So it makes sense for them to do some of that administration. And then finally, we have what we call an outside collaborator. These are great fits for people like your accountant, your bookkeeper, maybe you have an outsourced CFO. You can grant them permissions if you'd like them to run payroll, or they can also be granted permissions that they add other users from their firm to your account.
Absolutely. And I'm going to include a link in the chat just so if you're an existing OnPay client, you know how to navigate those different tiers of user access. So just put that there. And I will tell you all, I'm super excited to hear more about this next session because Jessica has several years of experience implementing accrual policies for small businesses. So get your questions in. We'll be addressing those soon. I'm really excited.
Yeah, so it's something that I've always been passionate about. It's one of the things that I loved about OnPay when I joined, how easy it is to set up different flexible paid time off policies and track them and really ease that administrative burden on our clients. So PTO is one of your employees' top preferred benefits. So it's a good idea to think about either updating your existing policy to make it easier to manage or implementing a policy if you don't have one. So we've seen it all from paper calendars to Excel spreadsheets, but there are definitely ways to track it that are better. And so let's talk about automating it to make it easier. Automating your accruals allows you to easily comply with state and local sick leave requirements. We've seen a lot of those pass over the last couple of years. And it also keeps your employees happy, right? They can easily see their balances themselves. They can log in, it's on their pay stub. It just makes it easier to manage. OnPay gives you the tools you need to create the policy any way that you'd want. So the first thing you do is you just select the type of policy you want to add, whether it's sick, vacation, or a general paid time off policy. You'll also get to choose how these hours are accrued and if and when they expire. You can also implement multiple tiers of a policy so that employees who've been with your company longer, they're more tenured, they can earn more time. Also, employees, like I mentioned, can view their they can view their pay stubs and their balances on the portal, and it just takes a few clicks. We've got a lot of resources on how to set those up. I'm happy to take additional questions if you have specific questions on how to set up different states. We are going to drop a link in the chat, or actually a couple links, I think, for paid time off tracking, because it is a huge administrative burden for people. So definitely, if we don't get to your question during this time, happy to follow up and I'll take those directly.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jess. And I dropped 2 links in the chat. First one is great. Even if you're not an OnPay client of ours, we do high level of what to keep in mind when creating time off policies. Second link is maybe a little bit more specific to OnPay users. So definitely stick around for questions. I see we are already getting quite a bit in the questions section, but I do want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. We hope you've come away from this webinar with a better understanding of how OnPay can help you streamline your operations. All right, let's take some questions. So one question I know we got in advance that I would like to address is from Carol. Carol says, we are a nonprofit who has received governor's grant in Virginia for daycare centers during COVID-19. We want to pay workers a special amount as COVID pay. Is there a way to do that non-pay? Do we have to do it hourly, or can we designate a certain amount daily or weekly for each employee? I think that's a great question, Carol. It's one that I'm seeing come up a lot. Some people are calling it hazard pay. I'm actually going to change how my screen is viewed just so I can show everyone. I think that will be helpful. So you should see that my screen has changed and we're back into OnPay. So I would go to company over here and I would go to pay items. We have different buckets that I like to call them, or different categories of different wage items in OnPay. So you do want to choose the correct one. More than likely, without knowing any more specifics, Carol, this would be a completely taxable W-2 wage item. If it is, we have several different custom wage items that are available. So you find one that says custom, and I actually have used all of my custom ones. So I'm just going to rewrite this one. I know this one is a custom pay item, and I would call it, you called it COVID pay. I like it. So COVID pay right here. And then you can set it to be hourly. You can also set it to be non-hourly. And then when I go into payroll right here, let's give one to Samantha. I'm going to expand the screen, and under select pay type, I would type in COVID pay. If I'm assigning a designated rate per paycheck, I could actually type that in the rate field right here. So if it's $250, I would click add item. And then I just keep this box checked when I'm going to pay. Maybe in a few months, or when that COVID pay item is no longer applicable, you can also then take it out of her pay entirely so that it doesn't present itself as an option. So I hope that answered your question, Carol. Oh, go ahead, Jessica.
Yep. So Kara, that's great. I was just going to add something. I noticed you mentioned that you had run out of custom pay items. For anyone who is an existing client on the call or thinking about using us, we do use, or we give you the ability to have as many custom pay items as you want. We limit it in the immediate. So I think we only have 15 when you start, but if you run out of them like Kara did, just reach out to our support team. We're happy to add more. We just don't want to overwhelm people. So I just wanted to add that as a super user trick.
No, I love it. Absolutely. Just let us know. And then next question, Jessica, I'll have you field this one. If a question from Andy, if an employee enters a new direct deposit account, does OnPay send a pre-note, and how long until the new account is ready to receive direct deposits?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Andy. We actually do not pre-note employee accounts, so they will go immediately active. So as soon as the employee enters that information, it will be updated on the next payroll. Now, if let's just say, it happens to people, Andy, you run payroll today, your employee does it tomorrow, but then they receive the pay the next day. Because you had already ran payroll before the change was in place, we will still send it to the bank account that was on file at the time that the payroll was run, but any future payrolls would go to that new bank account.
Perfect. Thank you, Jess. And I'll take the next one. We'll just alternate. I think that's a good plan for now. A question from Maura. Why does it still show as next run, a pay period that has already been done? How can I make that stop? So that is part in the system. There's not a way to configure that, Maura, and I do apologize. What Maura is talking about, everyone, is when you come on the dashboard, the next scheduled pay run, it was appearing for me even after I had proved that September 18th payday. Until the check date passes, Maura, you are still going to see that there, and then OnPay is going to automatically roll over to the next regularly scheduled pay date. So from what I've seen too, since we do give you the ability to remove that pay run, that's one possible reason why that next scheduled pay run is still going to appear. You also receive, just to make sure that you're aware that payroll has been ran, you do receive an automated email reminder, but no way to disable that at this time. It will automatically roll over for you. But you'll want to look at recent runs will tell you if you've already approved for that date range. You'll receive an email, and then we actually tell you as well, if you were to click start run, the very first page of the payroll window is also going to tell you if you've already processed a payroll for that pay period or that check date. So great question from Maura. Let me take a look here at our next question. Question from Anne. So Jess, I'll have you do this one. We're alternating.
Yeah.
If you send payment info directly to QuickBooks, how do you avoid double counting the entries when they come from your bank account into QuickBooks?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Kara, if you can navigate on the screen to company and then to integrations for me, I'm going to have you go to that payroll export section. Thank you. Oh, one down. Go up for me, Kara.
Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like Vanna White, but I'm not as skilled. There we go.
Yeah, so here in this, because this is a demo account, it's not set up to show it, but you would see a success message here showing that the payroll was successfully sent to QuickBooks. Kara, if you want to hit send really quick and then navigate away and come back to it, we'll see it go to success once it approves. But basically you'll see a history here of when it goes so that you don't have, sometimes we see like accountants who have multiple users who might try to sync it, but we do give you that success message and we save it and we tell you who the user was that did it and the time and date. So we do have systems built in place on our side so that things do not double sync. If you have any additional questions on that, Anne, I'm happy to take that as a side note. We can talk. But yeah, the system will only send it once. If you click send again, you will get a message that says that it'll go through again. So like, let's say you didn't like what you saw in QuickBooks, how you had mapped it, and you deleted the entries from QuickBooks and wanted to send it again, you absolutely can, and we do allow it. So we do allow multiple sends, but it will kind of try to tell you don't do that twice.
Perfect. And we have time for a few more questions. I see a lot of questions in the chat, so if we don't get to you, we will follow up after this call. A question from William that I'll tackle. How might a payroll correction work? An example, underreported hours, need to issue a supplemental paycheck. So William, if you catch it in time, just like I showed everyone on the screen, you do have the capability to reprocess that pay run with the corrected hours. But if you need to maybe run a supplemental check, as you mentioned, easily can do so. You would just click right back into start run and you'd have that option. So I'm going to approve this very quickly just so I can show you the notification that you would receive when you come back in here, because maybe you already processed it for that pay period, but I think it'd be helpful just to have that visual. Oh man, and my QuickBooks test account is going to be on fire today. All right. So let me go back into start run. So this is what your screen would look like if you've already processed a payroll for that check date or for those employees. People are highlighted in yellow. You are going to see this notification, but maybe I would select uncheck all. We'll choose Samantha. Maybe I need to give her some more hours. When I go into enter hours here, I can wipe that slate clean. If I owed her another 10 hours, I can easily add that just like so, and then continue approving. So OnPay is going to let you approve as many times as you need to, and we're never going to charge you for any extra runs either. All right, so question for Jess from a deli. When I run payroll and go to review it, it gives me warnings about averages of last 2 paydays being less than the amount being paid currently. I go ahead and approve anyway, but why does it do that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when you pay employees, and Kara, you might get it here. Wonderful. That was like you were expecting it. So this is just a cautionary warning, right? So it's just saying like, hey, we took the average of your last 2 payrolls. Maybe you accidentally keyed too many hours. We just want to warn you. So like if you entered 400 instead of 40, this is just to say, hey, like alert, make sure this employee's paid right. Now, if you have a lot of hourly employees, you might see this warning often and it might not apply to you. One of the things that I'll say as a tips and tricks, we can show you how to turn that off. So Kara, if you want to navigate to company, and then down to these company preferences that Kara showed earlier, there is an option to hide unusual compensation warnings. If you turn that to yes, you won't get those each pay period anymore. So that's just kind of an additional trick, Deli. If you've got a lot of hourly associates, I understand, or a lot of employees who vary with their compensation, that warning could be annoying. So we get it.
Perfect. Great question. We have time for 2 more questions, I think. Question from Amy. What are the benefits of integrating directly with QuickBooks Online since the transactions already post there via bank accounts when they are drafted? I think having the benefit is that if you're needing to record expenses or liabilities that are associated with each pay run, which I would heavily recommend you do just for a clear kind of financial picture, especially because payroll is such a large expense in a business's operations that you set it up. We do send it over as a balanced transaction though. So it shouldn't confuse you because you're right. We are taking care of the payroll tax payments. We're taking care of the filings as well. But if you send it over, we're sending it over as a balanced transaction. So you're not going to see anything pop up in your outstanding liabilities. What's nice too is that you're going to be able to easily reconcile the direct deposit draft and the tax draft with what we're sending over to. And Jessica, I know you're our resident QuickBooks guru, so to speak. So anything else you want to add for that, for the benefits that I missed?
Yeah, it's totally up to you how you want to see your information in QuickBooks, right? So we have some users who, like I mentioned before, they do a lot of manual checks. So they want a transaction per employee. So then you would want to send it in detail, meaning we send 1 journal entry per employee. And then that really reconciles quickly back for them. Also if you're using classes and locations, you might want to do it that way. If you're just doing a really simple journal entry for expenses versus liabilities, I totally understand. You might not want to do it. If you're used to it, that's totally fine. What I always say when I'm talking to people about this is you usually don't get in trouble with your accountant or your bookkeeper for giving them too much detail. So if you send something to, like Kara has this all sent to expenses, but if we did a account per each item, then they're going to see that same detail in your QuickBooks. So we're going to see the federal employer taxes, the liability and the expense. We're going to see a line item for each. So you could go very granular. Your accountant's going to know exactly what you were doing with payroll. It's going to match your reports. That's not a bad thing. But if you're happy with how you're reporting it, I don't see a need to change it.
Well said. That's why you're the pro. All right, so we'll shift gears a little bit. We do have a lot of QuickBooks related questions that we'll make sure to follow up with you individually by email to address. Want to address this question from William about PTO. How can I see employee pay stubs with PTO accruals and balances after PTO is set up to see if it's working the way that I want? So we do have, William, under reports, we have an accrual listing report. And when I pull up accrual listing, drum roll please.
Are you talking about my favorite report ever, Kara?
Uh-oh.
No, it's the best report for being able to see what's happened with the accruals. You can definitely go look at employee stubs and we'll show you that as well. But the accrual listing report is fantastic for showing you who accrued what during the payroll, what their available hours were. Kara, I don't know that you have a vacation policy set up. Maybe hit all.
No, I think I have a PTO though.
Okay,
oh, I do a lump sum for him, but just imagine if he accrued per pay period or per hour.
Yeah, and so then the other thing Kara just clicked on, actually that's great, Kara. If you click on the employees line here, this gives us a breakdown of the check. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, Kara, you can see that the accrual would be shown here if it was accruing on a per pay period or per hour, or it was being used and they had an output, if they had something that actually happened with payroll there. Clicking on the employee's name here in their profile, you can get to that. And then also during payroll. So one thing I like to tell people that when you're doing the payroll and the, yes, thank you, Kara, for showing it here. This is where you can see the balances under the HR section. But also if you do a payroll and you go to the preview, Kara, for me, just jump over to review run. Thank you. And when you click on an employee's name, we can see the accrual happening as well down at the bottom. So it's in a preview of the accrual that's going to happen. So this hasn't written to the employee's history yet. So you can check it out there too while you're previewing.
Perfect. All right, well, we appreciate everyone's time and questions. Just for the interest of just time, we'll make sure to follow up with you individually by email, but we appreciate all the detailed questions. I think it made it for a more interactive session. And thanks for checking out OnPay. Thank you for your questions. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.